Mm, that's so good. Well, as if that didn't feel strangely prophetic or something, I just turned the page from Job 13:1, 131 on page 686, and then flipped it right to pow, Nehemiah. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hekeliah. Now it happened in the month of Chislev, in the 20th year, in the 20th year, 20th year of what? uh, hmm. As I was in Susa, the citadel, that Hanani, one of my brothers, came with certain men from Judah. And I asked them concerning the Jews who escaped, who had survived the exile, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said to me, the remnant there in the province who had survived the exile is in great trouble and shame. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates are destroyed by fire. That right there, and mentioning Jerusalem and gates being destroyed by fire, that echoes right along with Jesus saying, uh, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Because Jerusalem means teaching of peace. That's what Jesus was teaching about. So in Nehemiah, when you see where it says that Jerusalem is, its walls are broken down, it's saying, it's like as if saying, our law has failed us. We don't have the law. Um, Later on in this book, you see that they're just overjoyed with the fact that they found the law. And, the thing is what the reason why, maybe the thing to think about would be the epiphany or the realization, like the prodigal son, for instance, right? What does he do? He runs off and then comes to his senses and goes, what am I doing? Right. I've taken my riches. I'm supposed to be Israel. Well, but if you're not acting like Israel, God can't bless you like Israel. So, and these folks were definitely out of line. They were, you know, usury, charging interest. They were breaking all the laws and rules that, they should have been following. And, we think that by being obedient to God, or let's it's easier to explain the other direction. It's like we think that by being disobedient to God, that we're forsaking God and pissing him off or something. And it's like, that's stupid. No, because we don't do what he tells us we should do, we forsake ourselves. You know, the things that we're told and expected of us are not bad things. It just depends on how you want to, right? What do you want to do? Are you perfectly okay with struggling your way through fighting? He's okay with that. He'll give you correction when you need it. And honestly, there's times when some people get it right without even actually trying. Because, see, that's supposed to be the end game. The law is written in our hearts. Okay? That's the end game. So I won't be doing this. Neighbor will not teach neighbor about the Lord. As soon as I heard these words, I sat down and wept and mourned for days. And even where it says that, and mourned for days, that could be, he could have mourned for 5 seconds and still mourned for days. The difference between day and night, all through this thing. In days, he wouldn't have any reason to mourn because we'd be walking in the light. If they were walking in day in the light as they should be, in the day, like Paul talks about that, right? And I continued fasting and praying before the God of heaven. And I said, O Lord God of heaven, the great and awesome God who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments. So it's kind of like we think that it's almost we pay homage, buying and selling, like as if we're bargaining with God. We'll do this, and we're only doing this so that we can be blessed. What we don't realize is by doing whatever that is the blessing. Somehow we've been tricked that, although we like how ice cream tastes and it's good, and we'll eat it until there's no end, as long as God didn't give it to us, then that's a problem, right? And it's like, guys, there's only one kind of ice cream like this. And I'm screaming for it right now. As soon as I heard these words, I sat down and wept and mourned for days. And I continued fasting and praying before the God of heaven. And I said, O Lord God of heaven, the great and awesome God who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments. Let your ear be attentive and your eyes open to hear the prayer of your servant, that I now pray before you day and night for the people of Israel, your servants, confessing the sins of the people of Israel, which we have sinned against you. Even I and my father's house have sinned. We have acted very corruptly against you and have not kept your commandments and the statutes and the rules that you commanded your servant Moses. And it's like we think that by rejecting what is commanded, asked of us, I just look at it like as good advice. I mean, if you want to say that that's how Moses talked to God as a friend, I just look at it as like good advice. Strip all the divinity off of it. It just doesn't matter. You can't remove God from the good, right? You can't do it because I know where it all comes from, the same spot. It allows me to look at the world in a different way. I see somebody doing good. I don't have to know if they know my God or not. I know that my God is knowing them. Oh, they're really screwed. They're having all kinds of fruit. Something just crawled on my nose. Ugh. Anyway, these little fungus gnats, or do I have a hair curling up? And anyway, we think that, by rejecting his commandments that he gets mad at us and then does that. And it isn't how it works. The brunt of what we suffer is of our own thing. And it's all of what Jesus is talking about in Revelation. Behold, I come quickly to judge everybody. He's saying not off in the distance someday. You should, every second that you do something should be on your heart to just say, I got to do this right. I mean, I don't know. Eventually, you just jump over the other side of the fence and you just don't do anything wrong. You know, I don't drive around speeding. I don't take anything that isn't mine. I don't gawk at people I shouldn't look at. I don't. There's a lot of things that I don't do that I used to do, and I. It's not that I have to restrain myself from them. I just don't feel like doing it anymore. It's like I see, man, yeah, that was kind of a waste of time, and cost me a lot of money in some instances, right? Did I really save any time when I got pulled over? And then, you know, everybody's staring at you. They're all making it to work on time. You're showing up late and with a ticket. You have saved. And when you do the math on things, oh, forget it. Once you do the math on things, mathematics, calculator, you just realize that it just isn't worth it. Some things just don't add up and they're stupid, just blatantly stupid. Speeding, I think if you're going 50, what is it? 50. If you're in a 55 mile an hour zone and you're doing 70, I think like you got to go for like a half an hour to save like 5 or 6 minutes maybe. It's really not that much. And you're like, that's all? And you're driving like wild, man. You're doing 70 miles an hour for 30. You're a target then. You're like, imagine somebody flying across the sky, right? It takes 30 minutes to get from that horizon to that horizon, and everything else is sitting still. But here comes you. Yeah, you're like obvious, right? And you suffer for it, right? Me now when I drive, I just go it's crazy because you can go the speed limit, and if you actually do the speed limit, as you're like trying to approach other lights, if you dog off a little bit and you can almost coast up to them and they're turning green and getting ready for you. It's like the most chilled out thing, I mean, at times you're just like, I want to hit my brakes here, a couple times just to make sure, because it's like I just keep rolling through everything. The people in front of me are taking off like mad. The people behind me are upset because they can't get to the light and stop. And it's like, guys, chill the hell out, man. It's like you act as if the place was designed. It's not designed to aggravate us with the controls that are in place, right? Technically, police hold job of our said friend in the book of Job. They go around seeking whom they can catch in their sin, right? But they have a purpose for that. They're supposed to stop, eventually their police and their existence is just indication that we're a bunch of corrupt animals and deserve all the problems that we get. Like, yeah, it's an indication of that. We live in denial. We think we're, it's the other kingdom, brother against brother, hand against hand. Unless you can see that those two are one and working together. I mean, these days I'm finding like the Gospel of Thomas is probably one of the most, you know, pleasing things to read these days. Cause it's like, yeah, this is it right here. This is describing how people respond to things, right? Uh, and it talks about making a female into a male. And it's like, thank God it has some weirdness like that in there, because things like that, you have to figure that out. What's he really saying here? You know, it's like when Jesus said, eat my flesh and drink my blood. I mean, that's like cannibalism. All right. He could not have been saying that, but it's in there. And they, I mean, as word got around that he said that, then you just have to imagine the scene. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to see. It's even very appropriately numbered in the New Testament, John 6:66. And from that time, many of his disciples followed him no more. And it was after he said that, eat my flesh and drink my blood. And that sounds like stuff for the watchers, to be honest with you. If you read the book of Enoch, and they knew the book of Enoch, that sounds like a watcher, because they made a covenant of eating each other's flesh and drinking each other's blood. See, but is that maybe why they didn't want us to see the book of Enoch? I mean, can you see how we've been protected from the scriptures? Because as soon as we hear like the word evil or something like that, it's automatically something you got to fight, destroy, and we just don't get it. That's when our problems started. As soon as that word showed up and we went, ah, that was it. But then you look in Isaiah, where Isaiah actually says, well, the Lord actually creates evil. Well, now what? Now, and the problem is it's because people don't actually study it. They don't know it. If you don't understand how our God works, you wind up with everything from non-existent, can't exist God, to angry tyrant. How could you, angry at God? Like, there is a God, but I'm mad at God, and that's my sister. Yeah. Foster mom too. Same thing. Mad at God because he doesn't do something about all the stuff that's in here. And it's like, all I can say is, like Jesus said, you give them something to eat. He is in this world. He's in the dirt. The piles of dust, it is us. If we won't work, we got to go. It's not his fault. We can't blame God for what we do wrong. Right? We're given so much instruction, and over and over. It's like a freaking broken record in here, this thing. That when you look at what the prophets are saying, and you got to look at the structure. It's always north and south. North is his position, so good coming from there. South is where Judah are. Those are where your lions are. Kind of the equivalent of almost like the woman, because you got two lions. One's good, one's bad. One calls you, one chases you. When you can see the componentry of the thing, I mean, AI should be able to figure out this like that, if it hasn't already. I'm eventually I expect to start seeing what I'm saying out there already, but coming from a different direction. Either somebody will steal it or figure it out or think that it's some kind of power, and there's nothing to it. This is just the truth, and a sad ass fact that we're destroying each other in a world expecting somebody to come and show up and make the place better. That's pathetic. That is pathetic. We should be trying to make it better so we can come back to something decent, if that's what you want to believe. Not come back and, where comes then what Jesus said, you'll do greater things than me. There you go. Anyway. Remember the word that you commanded your servant Moses, saying, if you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the peoples. And that's just no unity, no fellowship, nobody working together, brother against brother, hand against hand. But if you return to me and keep my commandments and do them, Though your outcasts are in the uttermost parts of heaven, from there I will gather them and bring them. And that's the outcast are in the uttermost part. What does uttermost mean? Uttermost parts of heaven? Uttering is speaking words. It's got the word utter in it. I'll bring them from there. Yeah. Obey the word. They are your servants and your people. I could add a little bit in there and say they are your suffering servants and your people. Why? Oh, well, don't you know that he says those aren't my people sometimes? The people you brought with you? Suffering servants, all of us, whom you have redeemed by your great power and your strong hand. Everything in pairs. O Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant, to the prayer of your servants who delight to fear your name. Yeah. And give success to your servant today and grant him mercy in the sight of this man. Now I was cupbearer to the king. And it's interesting because it says, now I was cupbearer to the king. And it's weird because he was the cupbearer to King Artaxerxes. But look at where that sentence falls in all of this. After all of that he said, confessing and, pouring himself out, right? And what does he say? Now I was cupbearer to the king. Which king? Is he talking about Artaxerxes? Or is he saying, God's going to send me on a mission now, right? I get the cup. In the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes. So now it says in the 20th year. So was that like a preload there that we got? See, and this guy is like so in service to this king, he just says in the 20th year. That's for him to just say in the 20th year. The 20th year of what? And since that 20th year is associated with that king, it's talking about his love for that king, you know? It'd be like me throwing a remember when out there that you and I would share and would be that important that I could just say, something like inside joke kind of thing, like, uh, caramel French fries, and then you'd be like, just you could leave out details, but it means so much more, right? You'd be like thinking about when we went to some restaurant and you know you were hungry and I wasn't, and then all of a sudden you just had a stupid idea of sticking your French fry in my ice cream, and then I made you eat it. It had caramel on it, and then all of a sudden you decided you liked it, and all of a sudden caramel French fries became a thing. We'd secretly go and have ice cream, and you'd be like dunking in my. Can I get some extra caramel for the ice cream? But on the side. Okay, yeah, I guess. Don't burn yourself. It's got to be hot, and then we put it on the cold ice cream. All right, yeah, yeah, don't worry. And wife's over there dunking them fries in the caramel. Yeah, in the 20th year of his reign, huh? In the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was before him, I took up the wine and gave it to the king. See, even that, when wine was before him. Now I had not been sad in his presence. And the king said to me, why is your face sad, seeing you are not sick? This is nothing but sadness of heart. And it's like, at least he was seeing that he was sad and not angry, right? You would definitely wouldn't want your cupbearer looking like he was kind of being cocky with you, right? But then again, who knows? I mean, that's how Artaxerxes' father was killed by his own cupbearer. He was poisoned. So this guy's, you know, he's probably, just because of what happened to his father, maybe predisposed to say, I ought to keep my eye on this guy, and I don't know, right? That could even be the reason why he said, I got to treat this guy good. You know, he mentions his father. The land of his fathers is destroyed. Artaxerxes is going, my father. And my father was killed by his cupbearer. Now a cupbearer is before me telling me about what happened to his father. Whoa, 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 wait a minute. I better think about this a little bit here. People don't tie that together in these stories, but it's in there all over the damn place. And you see Artaxerxes going, all right, yeah, when you coming back? Can you go? Oh, yeah. I figured you're probably going to want to go. I overheard. Yeah, you're all set up. And we're sending timber. We got the army's going to go with you. I'm going to give you everything you need so you can even build yourself a house for yourself while you're there. Okay. And then, because it's times of famine and whatever, just send them with entourage by him asking. And the guy's like, to him, what was he? He was the cupbearer. See, there's a difference between the cupbearers and the bakers. Okay. The baker, he's the one who's supposed to be making the bread. The cupbearer can get away with a little bit more because there's different kinds of, there can be different kinds of wine. There can be old wine, new wine, even vinegar. But the bread is to be bread. If the bread ever becomes stones, you use this bread to harm somebody. Oh, wow. That's wickedness. That's worse than evil. You've taken something that's supposed to give somebody life and you're using it to destroy them. That is boiling the baby in the mother's milk. It's like, you can see where the law kind of gets messed up in spots by the way it's written. As you start to get towards the end, it's almost like to say this can happen, and then you get this, and then as you get to the end, and maybe that's the part that you should remember. It says things like, if you kill somebody, then you're to be killed. So it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. This other part of the law says to take them out of the camp and stone them. Well, isn't that killing them? I don't know. Maybe you should be thinking about that. I think Jesus saw that. There's parts of the law that cause you to, it's like trying to enforce the law only causes you to further break it. So it's more to be a guide, right? And it was a guide, and it was proven to be a guide because, well, unless it was bad for Israel to start changing laws, was it wrong for Israel's prophets to start changing the laws in the book? Because if you say yes, then Jesus can't be the Messiah because the bloodline goes away. Because Deuteronomy 23:4 says no Moabites in the congregation. None. Because they didn't help you out when you were leaving Egypt. Well, guess what? What is she? She's a Moabite. But the thing is the prophet Samuel realized the importance of what it was that she did, her commitment. Basically, the prophet Samuel understood that to be Israel is more about your allegiance to God and who you follow than about bloodlines and things like that. Right? Like some tribe would have to claim you, I guess. They'd have to assign you to somebody. Somebody's got to redeem you, right? But as far as bloodlines and things like that, there was an area in there where if you were so aligned, I mean, if I'm a pile of dust, I'm just a pile of dirt, and what gives me life is a spirit. And God that spirit is either for or against God. And I'm doing everything that is proving that I'm for. I've done nothing against. I go where he goes. I live with his people. I die with his people. I do everything in accordance with that. I am his people then. That's Israel. Even that term, Israel, where it means God prevails, it's kind of like because he's sovereign, he's ruler over everything. But some things, if you're banging, how do you say it? Banging back in the wrong direction, that's not going to work. But you'll still eat. You'll still get food. You just won't like it. See, I needed to find that that Hebrew. What is that verse in First Samuel? First Samuel 27. Why am I remembering that? Where was Dagon put in the when they took the ark? It was 24. Yeah, when was the ark in the why won't anybody call? What's it going to take? Do you just want to destroy the place, Lord? Am I that far ahead of schedule? Am I just here to watch it go? It's terrible. I feel like you are being robbed. What you've done here sits in such wreckage. And only because people don't understand. I don't blame anybody. All of what you warned us about got the best of us. You were right. You are always right. You are always right. Is there no way that we can gain your appreciation except to be beaten? It seems to be the only way. You be praised in all things, Father. Wow. What a place to open up to. Solomon's birth. Oh, man. In the spring of the year, the time when kings go out to battle, David sent Joab. And his servants with him, and all Israel. And they ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem. Okay, sorry, I was laughing in advance. When kings go out to war, and David sent Joab. It's like it already sounds like, yeah, dude, no, you're supposed to go, and you sent Joab. Maybe if you went, you wouldn't be at home screwing around with the neighbors, right? It happened late one afternoon when David arose from his couch and was walking on the roof of the king's house that he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. And David sent and inquired about the woman. And that's the first thing. He just shouldn't have did that. Like, it was weird, man. I went on a walk this morning. I woke up at, I don't know what the hell time it was, 3:45. 3:45, and my clock, by the time I got, I was like, what do I do? And I'm like, go for a walk, really? I'm hearing this in my heart. Go for a walk, It's like, I don't expect I'm going to see anybody, okay, but I'll go. And then what happens? I actually did run into somebody. It's like I was walking down Main Street and had just passed the bank where I met my wife. And I remember some of the last things that, we talked about. But when I decided that I wanted to maybe date her, my question to her was, do you smoke? Because I don't smoke. So it's kind of like one of them, yeah. Oh, but I'm walking along, and all of a sudden I see this person on the other side of the street, and I'm like, whoa, okay. But I'm like, what am I going to do? Turn around and start running or something? And I couldn't tell if it was, she was taller than me, I think. She was a really tall chick. And but I couldn't tell if it was, what. And she comes walking. And then kind of when she sees me, and again, I didn't really know she was a she at that time, but she starts cutting towards me, like across the street, like from her side, coming like I'm coming right at you now, and obvious. I'm like, okay, this person wants to talk to me or something's going on. So I just, here you go. Let's see what happens. And she walks up and she had a really crazy accent. I don't know where it was from. Um, who she reminded me of? There used to be a commercial that they used to play on here when you would watch the videos. and I want to say it was like a phone carrier. It was a phone carrier commercial. But she's, helping customer, she's just a lady in a commercial, right? But she was, from as much as I could see in the dark, she was fairly attractive. But she's like, she asked me, do you smoke? And I'm like, I was like, whoa, no, and then it was just like, I was just weirded out over the whole thing. It was like, this is really weird, man. It's like, of all the people that you would expect to run into just wandering around, in the morning, before anybody's up, literally. And like, you just, I don't know. It was very weird. And then it's like, well, I'm gonna get going. And then I felt bad. I'm like, was I supposed to ask her if she needed something or why? So then I go home and then it just sits on my head. And it's like, why did I, what was that all about, Lord? Why did I, you know, I don't know. And, and not much of a conversation, all I asked her, I just said, I go, can't sleep, huh? I go, yeah. I go, she goes, no. And I would go, you probably got a lot of troubles you're thinking about, right? And I'm just comparing her to myself because I'm awake, right? And she's like, yeah. I said, yeah. I go, this world's messed up, and we don't take care of each other very much. And the last thing I said to her, I go, and I was standing across the street from my church. And I said, I used to go to that church and I tried to warn the pastor about all the stuff that was coming. And he laughed at me and mocked me and threw me out of the church. uh, that's the way that God talks to me. Jesus, you need to get back here. Stop playing around. These people ain't going to believe nothing unless somebody comes flying out of the clouds on white horses and angels with wings and the sky cracking open and all of the physics of space denied. So it rips open, and then there's heaven behind this dark veil that we didn't even realize what it was. It was just like ripping open a curtain. You mean heaven's right there? Yeah, you just didn't know how to get to it. What? Jew? Um, I found out that I have a Jewish bloodline that goes into Egypt. My last name that I thought was Italian wound up being, if you go oldest, African. And I started out in Christianity, but now because I understand something called the theodicy, which is the vindication of God, uh, the benevolence of God, although evil exists and so on, the evil and destruction in the world. So I got that nailed down. And because of that, I do not see that it was necessary to crucify Jesus. It didn't do anything for us except put a curse on us, as Paul said. And Paul was right when he said that if the leaders of the time had known, quote unquote, this, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. See, we got it all messed up about what the Son of Man is, what a Son of Man is. You're a son of man and I'm a son of man. If I have to relate that to anything divine, that's your soul or your spirit that's in you as a son of Adam. That soul or spirit has to choose which father it's going to serve, Father God or the father of lies. And your works are representative of which father you have chosen, because the sons always do as they see their fathers doing. See, Jesus said the son always does as he sees his father doing, but you could just easily say the same thing, but which father are you talking about? Is the son a liar and a son of perdition, a child of wrath, corrupt, that kind of thing? Father of lies. Easy to spot. Stay over there. I can't judge you because you're on the other team. You can't judge me. Well, but you're going to try because that's what the other team does, right? The bad guy, what is he? The accuser, the judge, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now you see, can you see some of the construct of this thing? And we're reading this book wrong, and we've turned it into a weapon. And even the book itself warns us in Revelation. The great sword that takes peace from the earth is the Bible. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she lamented over her husband. And when the mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house. And she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. You think? Bad, man. It's bad. Who is my God? The God who created the heavens and the earth. Too many people have all these different names, so that's the one I serve. The Most High. Even that people don't understand. He's the God of all gods. And that means that you are a God too, because of what Jesus said. If he called them gods to whom the word came, and he came to us, what does that make you? A God. Don't get so excited about it. If you can learn how to walk on the water and fly in the sky and stuff, let me know though. You know, we're all built of the same thing. All us gods down here and everything. Wow. I just opened it up to Ecclesiastes 3. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under the sun. That's sovereignty. That's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to tear, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. And he just went through how many lines there just to speak of that. That's what's known as a divided time. That's a divided time. And if you're chatting in the comments, I apologize. Somebody keeps jamming my channel here. Thanks, YouTube. If you can do a little bit of, metrics on that, that'd be kind. Do I have to do all my own work? It's your platform. I think you'd like to find the bad guys, right? And thank you for all you do. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. To draw near to listen is better than to offer the sacrifice of fools. It's too late when the sacrifice is there. And it's then you've already, then you're just giving barbecue up for no good reason. For they do not know that they are doing evil. And knowing is doing. Be not rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be hasty to utter a word before God. For God is in heaven, and you are on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. For a dream comes with much business, and a fool's voice with many words. Talk about getting down to your father's business. When you vow a vow to God, do not delay paying it, for he has no pleasure in fools. It's going to be so good to chop all this hair off. It is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay. Let not your mouth lead you into sin, and do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. Whoa. Did you catch that? Let not your mouth lead you into sin, and do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. And the messenger looks like it might be translated into. Oh, it does say angel. Yep, there you go. I was going to say, because what's happening is, see, the angels, when it says the angels are ascending and descending upon the Son of Man, that's like you're laying, you know, however you want to envision yourself, standing, laying down, whatever. But the angels are, your deeds is being approved and like commissioned from above and below. These angels are trying to get you to do these two different things. I hate to say it, but it's like the angel on the right and left shoulder kind of thing. But when he's talking about the angels ascending and descending upon you, this is exactly what it's talking about. Don't say before the messenger shows up that it was a mistake. In other words, because when the messenger shows up, it's too late. You can't undo that. The message is like that's it. See, we think of the message as being like, tell me to do something, right? When that angel gets to you, you have to obey it. It's going before you. Remember, I will send my angel before you. If you're not obedient to that, but they're coming from two directions. And so that's why the angels ascend from below and they descend upon you. And you are judging angels by your thoughts. That's what your thoughts are. The things that you think, the things that you consider you might want to do, angels in your head. What are they saying? Was that 10? Was that 1,000? Get out. Wait, I gotta go look. Whoa, it was. You gotta judge. You have to judge. You have to choose. Last page of Mark, almost. Of the council, who was also himself looking for the kingdom of God, took courage and went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. I feel like that's what I see the world as right now. It's like Jesus' body is laying out there in the street dead. Is the best way I can explain it. Hmm. I better get a piece of floss through that one. I'm so tired. Jesus appears to two disciples. After these things, he appeared in another form to two of them as they were walking into the country. And they went back and told the rest, but they did not believe him. Hmm. I didn't know that was there, did you? In Mark. There's a couple of different places like that. If that's Mark, and Mark was written first, then the very end of Mark is kind of strange too, because they had two disciples that went and told what, and they didn't believe him. And then what else do you have? Then you also have at the very end of Mark, uh, wait a minute. Wait a second. How can I remember? How come I remember? And they told no one. They went to the tomb and it was empty and they were afraid and they told no one. Here. Okay, so these are the ones those must have been the ones that were added. Oh, here it is. It says right there. I didn't even see it. I'm an idiot. Why? Because I don't like to read the subtitles. Some of the earliest manuscripts do not include 16:9 through 20. So here it is. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you. And they went out and fled. Now, Galilee means like circle or community. That he is going before you to the community. There you will see him just as he told you. And they went out and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. And it's like that should just tell you right there, why would it end just like that? And they said nothing to no one because they were afraid. Where does, can you see where fear messes us up? We feared the Lord and we hid from him. You can't serve the Lord if you're hiding from him. It's the wrong kind of fear. It does him no good. He'll scream at you, on your feet, like when he yelled at Joshua, right? I apologize for the comments. Somebody's got me locked up here. I think I'm just gonna go give up for today, maybe. Oh, and nice to open this up here. This is for troublesome person, whoever you are, likes breaking my stuff. For your sake, we are being killed all day long. We are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. Coincidence not. Did I just say coincidence not? There we go. There's another hour in. I'm out of here. I love you guys. Shalom. Shalom.